Good afternoon, members. My name is Liz Watts. I'm the Chief Executive of the Council, and I would like to ask, are there any nominations for the office of Chair of the Council for the 2022-23 municipal year? Councillor Smith.
Thank you. I would like to nominate Councillor Anna Bradnam, please, as Chair of the Council.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Are there any seconders?
Yes. Please can I second Councillor Anna Bradnam as Chair of the Council?
Thank you very much. Are there any other nominations for Chair of the Council? No other nominations. So I'm going to invite Councillor Bradnam to leave the room, and we, as per the Constitution, will undertake a secret ballot. So my colleagues from Democratic Services will be coming around with ballot papers. Thank you, members. I'm pleased to declare that the member with the most votes is elected as Chair of the Council for the municipal year 22-23, which is Councillor Anna Bradnam. Councillor Bradnam, would you like to come up and take your seat? And then I'll ask you to read the declaration.
Thank you very much.
So, this is the Declaration of Acceptance of Office. So I, Anna Bradnam, having been elected to the office of Chair of South Cambridgeshire District Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code as to the conduct which is expected of members of South Cambridgeshire District Council. And I'm now signing it. And I think you need to witness it, is it? Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much. So you've got the loop. The loop goes over your head, I think. So, thank you. I'm delighted to be elected Chair of South Cambridgeshire District Council, and I hope I do you proud. May I make a few housekeeping announcements? Those present, including any members of the public observing or any public speakers, are asked to note that this meeting is being filmed and live streamed. By your presence, you are deemed to have consented to be filmed and to the use of those images and sound recordings for a webcast. May I please remind members that when speaking, you should not disclose any personal information of any individual, as this might infringe the rights of that individual and thus breach the Data Protection Act. Please make sure your microphones are switched off unless you're invited to speak. And for those participating remotely, when you're invited to address the meeting, please make sure that your microphone and camera are switched on, and then when you finish addressing the meeting, please turn your microphone off again. Please would members who are attending remotely indicate a wish to speak through a chat message in the Teams meeting. Those present in the chamber should indicate their wish to speak by raising their hand, and I and the Vice Chair will observe both the Teams meeting and the members in the room to make sure we take you in turn. Officers will use the chat facility to indicate time remaining for speeches and any items which are subject to time limits. The chat should not be used for any other purpose except where necessary to write down a simple amendment. Complex amendments should have been shared with Democratic Services in advance of the meeting. When we move to a vote on any item and there is not clear affirmation, I will state that a recorded vote will be taken. Members in the chamber will then vote electronically, selecting for, against, or abstain, and the result will be displayed. Since it is impractical to stand when our microphones are on the table, I propose that Standing Order 21.2 be suspended for the duration of this meeting. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Smith. Does anyone wish to vote against that? I see no hands, thank you. So members, are you content to take this decision by affirmation? Thank you. Does anybody wish to vote against? No. And does anybody wish to abstain? No. Okay, lovely. So the council therefore agrees that motion by affirmation. Officers have confirmed that the meeting is quorate and we can proceed. The next item on the agenda, item 2, is appointment of the Vice Chair. Are there any nominations for the office of Vice Chair of the Council for the 2022-23 municipal year? Councillor Bridget Smith.
Thank you. I wish to propose Councillor Peter Fane as Vice Chair of the Council.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Do I have a seconder? Thank you.
Yes, and I'd like to second Councillor Peter Fane as Vice Chair of the Council.
And that's Councillor Judith Rippeth. Thank you very much. Are there any other nominations for Vice Chair? I can see no other nominations. We need to go through the same procedure. I'm inviting Councillor Peter Fane to leave the room and we'll conduct a secret ballot. Thank you, Jonathan. Members, I'd like to... Thank you. So I'd like to announce that Councillor Peter Fane has been elected as Vice Chair of the Council. Thank you. Could we invite Councillor Peter Fane back in?
Thank you, colleagues. I need to just read out the declaration. I, Peter Fane, having been elected to the office of Vice Chair of South Cambridgeshire District Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it, according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code as to the conduct which is expected of members of South Cambridgeshire District Council, and I shall now sign that.
Thank you, members. So the next item on the agenda is 3 apologies. Are there any apologies for absence? And I would turn to Democratic Services for that, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, apologies for absence have been received from Councillors Alex Mallion, Corinne Garvey and William Jackson-Wood. And I believe Councillor John Lovelock is attending remotely. Thank you.
Did we also have apologies? Sorry, did you say Michael Atkins and John Lovelock?
Sorry, but disagree on who's not present. You say Michael Atkins and John Lovelock?
Yeah, it's Michael Atkins and he has given apologies, sorry, and John Lovelock is attending remotely.
Councillor Hales.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just for Ms Dawson, did you say Annika Osborne?
No.
She was here. Okay, yeah, thank you.
No, Annika's here.
Yeah.
I also had apologies from Will Jackson-Wood.
I think have we got, yes, we've had Will Jackson-Wood. Right. Are there any members participating remotely? Could you just speak up and let us know? No, okay, right. Okay, thank you. So, declarations of interest. So, do any members have any interests to declare in relation to any item of business on this agenda? Nobody's putting their hands up. Okay. I'd just remind you, if an interest subsequently becomes apparent as we go through an item, do raise it at that point, please. Item 5 is Register of Interests. May I remind members of the need to keep your Register of Interests up to date and to inform Democratic Services of any changes as and when they change. Thank you. So moving on to the minutes, which are on pages 1 to 16 of our agenda pack. Members are asked to approve the minutes of the meeting of the Council held on the 23rd of March 2022. Those present here today who were not members of the Council at that meeting can refrain from taking part. We don't need to take that as abstentions. So can I propose those minutes? And does anybody have any amendments to... Sorry, may I have a seconder? Thank you. And are there any amendments to those minutes? Councillor Dr. Bhattacharya, do put your microphone on.
I couldn't say it earlier that I will leave today earlier.
I'm sorry, could you speak up or bring your microphone closer to you, Councillor Bhattacharya?
I could not make the point earlier that I will leave today's meeting early.
Oh, you're leaving early, sorry. Right, that's fine. So as long as we can note that, thank you. But the minutes today are we happy that they are complete and as we would have expected? Okay, so thank you. We have no amendments then, so members, we approve the minutes subject to those. We have no amendments. So are we happy to agree the approval of the minutes 23rd of March as a correct record? Thank you very much. So, item 7, we move on to the returning officer's return of councillors elected, which is on pages 17 to 20 of our agenda pack. Members were asked to receive the returning officer's return of councillors elected in the elections held on the 5th of May 2022. And I invite Liz Watts, the Chief Executive Officer, to present this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The report is as written in the pack, and I'd like to congratulate all returning members.
Indeed. I think we do that. Yeah, congratulations. I think we'd all like to congratulate all our new members. Thank you. So, item 8 is election of the leader of council. Are there any nominations for the office of Leader of Council, please, for the 2022-2026 period? Thank you. Councillor Dr. Toomey Hawkins is proposing. And do we have a seconder? Councillor Bill Handley. Thank you. Are there any... Oh, sorry. Councillor Dr. Toomey Hawkins, would you like to say who you're proposing?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to nominate Councillor Bridget Smith.
Thank you. Councillor Bill Handley, can I confirm that is who you were seconding? Thank you very much. So are there any other nominations for Leader of Council? I can see no hands raised. Thank you. So in that case, I think we can take a recorded vote on our microphones, which we now know how to use, but Councillor Bridget Smith needs to leave the room first. Thank you. So Aaron, can we run the vote, please? So if you wish to vote for Councillor Bridget Smith as Leader of the Council, please press the blue button to say you're present and then green. If you wish to vote in a different way, to object would be red and to abstain would be yellow. And I can see Councillor Aidan van der Weyer saying that his microphone isn't working. And for those who are new to the system, if your microphone has registered your own vote, the button at the bottom of the screen shows below the bar that shows the vote. Okay? So has everybody voted? No, we've got one missing. We've got... okay, we've now got 35 voted for and one absent. Sorry? But we need to know that you can vote in other situations. So we've got 35 voting for and one abstention. So that vote is carried. So thank you. Can we invite Councillor Bridget Smith back in? So I declare that Councillor Bridget Smith is the elected leader of South Cambridgeshire District Council for the period 2022 to 2026. Thank you. So, announcements, section 9. I'd like to make a few announcements, please. Firstly, I'd like to announce, I did announce at the last council meeting the amount that we had raised through the chairman's charity last year. My chosen charity was Centre 33, and we're very fortunate to have Seamus Connolly at the back of the room, and I'd like him to accept a cheque from us, which was for £1,016.22 for Centre 33. Thank you very much to staff and members for your generous contributions to the Chairman's charity, whether by your phone ringing in the middle of the council meeting or other means. And I'm very happy to present this to Centre 33. And I'm going to come to the middle of the room so we can both be seen on the camera. So thank you very much, Seamus, for coming along to South Cambridgeshire District Council today. I think we've all appreciated how important your work at Centre 33 has been over the years, and particularly during the pandemic, when so many young people have suffered so many mental health issues. Thank you. But also you give all sorts of really practical advice to young people who are leaving care or struggling in all sorts of different ways. So thank you very much indeed. And with our best wishes, here's our cheque. You're showing the back, is that right? I'm showing the back.
That's what he asked for. Thank you very much.
Oh,
Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much indeed. You don't have to stay if you don't want to, but we'd be delighted if you'd like
I'll
to.
give you a call if you want.
I haven't yet decided who my chosen charity is going to be for the forthcoming municipal year, but I will tell you as soon as I can. I also propose periodically, not every time, but we might have a period of reflection prior to council meetings, but again, that will be as and when, and I'll advise you at the time. My final announcement is that I just wanted to say that this is the year when we are delighted to celebrate with Her Majesty the Queen, her 70th year on the throne. She is the only monarch to have achieved that longevity on the throne in England. So it's a really significant occasion. So we look forward to our celebrations for the Platinum Jubilee in all our villages on the long bank holiday, 2nd to the 5th of June. Thank you. The leader, do you have any announcements?
Yes, please, just briefly. So I'd just like to congratulate, oh, it's very ringy, isn't it? Congratulate all our new members and those who've been returned again. And we look forward to continuing to work, all of us together, really collaboratively and in the best interests of all of our residents. We're now widely recognised as an exemplar district council, and this is due both to the dedication of all our members, but also, and most significantly, to the hard work, expertise and commitment of all of our officers. Nothing exemplifies this more than the organisation's response to the crisis in Ukraine, and for which we receive daily compliments. We're now helping to drive the agenda nationally, and I'm meeting tomorrow for the third time with Lord Harrington, who's the Refugees Minister. He is taking our experience as the district council that's issued more visas than any other district in the country to help him to drive policy and to drive the government's response. So our own officers continue to adapt our response on a daily basis to ensure that when our very welcome guests return to their own homes, that their experience of South Cambridgeshire District Council has been positive in the extreme. This week alone, we've increased the welcome payment from £200 to £350, and that's to avoid matches breaking down, because we've realised that there is pressure put on the hosts to financially subsidise the guests. You know, That's just the way the system's working. And that puts unfair pressure on people, particularly at a time of escalating costs across the board. And most impressively, less than 2 weeks after, I had a really casual chat with Gareth about bikes for our guests. We've partnered with 2 charities and we're now offering free bikes, helmets and training to all of our guests. And within 2 hours of the press release going out about this, 40 people had signed up. So I'd love to be able to name and thank all 50 of our officers who are working so hard, but I'm going to settle for thanking Gareth and his team.
Thank you very much. Does the Chief Executive wish to make any announcements?
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So, in that case, item 10, we move on to notification by the Leader of the Council of the membership of... Somebody's phone pinged. Please could you turn your phone to silent or your laptop to silent? Notification by the Leader of the Council of membership of Cabinet for 2022-23. Leader, may I invite you to speak?
Thank you. I will stand up. As Leader of the Council, my responsibility, as well as being the strategic leadership of the Council, will be to serve on the boards of the Greater Cambridge Partnership and of the Combined Authority. My Deputy Leader, Councillor Judith Rippeth, will take responsibility for shared services, transformation and partnerships. The lead Cabinet Member for Resources will be John Williams, and his responsibility is for finance, human resources, corporate services, grants and investments. The lead Cabinet Member for Planning will be Councillor Dr. Tumi Hawkins, and her responsibility is for planning policy and development management. The lead Cabinet Member for the Environment is Brian Mills, Councillor Brian Mills, beg your pardon, and his responsibility is going to be broader than in the past. It will be for environmental services and licensing, waste, climate and environment and sustainable travel. The lead Cabinet Member for Communities will be Councillor Bill Handley, and again a slightly wider brief, responsible for new towns, community resilience, health and well-being and arts and culture. The lead Cabinet Member for Housing will be Councillor John Batchelor, responsible for housing delivery, landlord services, Ermine Street and Shire Homes. And finally, the lead Cabinet Member for Economic Development, again another broader role, will be Councillor Peter MacDonald, responsible for business support, skills, infrastructure and transport. So they're all going to be quite busy. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Leader. Moving on to item 11, which is political proportionality, allocation of seats on committees and other appointments for the period 2022-23. And this is in our agenda packet, pages 21 to 28. Right, so may I invite the Democratic Services Manager, Ms Dobson, to present this report, please.
Thank you, Chair. The political proportionality and allocation of seats on committees and other appointments for 2022 to 2023 has been published in the original agenda pack, and appendices B and C have been published just before the meeting as a supplementary pack today. The report sets out the reasoning behind the proportionality, which is obviously based on the results of the elections and groups on the council, and therefore the recommendations based on that proportionality are as set out in the report. And I believe that you have got before you various appendices in paper so that you can see those at this meeting. Included in the recommendations is the ratification of the appointment of the independent person and deputy independent person for a further year, being Grant Osborne and Gillian Holmes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms Dobson. So is there a proposer? Councillor Bridget Smith.
Could I also propose an amendment?
Certainly.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to propose an amendment to increase the size of the Climate and Environment Advisory Committee from the current 7 to 10. This will result in a change in the proportionality on that committee so that there will be 8 Liberal Democrat and 2 Conservative members.
Thank you. And do you have a seconder? Councillor Pippa Halings, thank you. So, does anybody wish to speak? I cannot see any requests to speak. So, as no alternative proposals have been put, I'll put that recommendation to the vote. So, are members content that I take the voting on those recommendations en bloc? Agreed. Thank you. Members, does anyone wish to vote against the proposal to accept these recommendations? No? And anybody wishing to abstain? No? So, members, are you content to take this decision by affirmation? Thank you very much. So, we have agreed that decision by affirmation. Okay. So, moving on to item 12. This is appointments to Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Combined Authority, and this item is on pages 29 to 34, of our agenda pack, subject to any changes since the recent elections. I therefore propose these recommendations. The supplementary pack contains the names of candidates nominated. Okay.
I'll second this.
So I call for a seconder. Are the nominations and the recommendations seconded?
I second that, Chair.
That's Councillor Peter Fane. Thank you. And there are no alternative proposals being put. So, members, are you content to take this decision by affirmation? Thank you very much. Anybody wishing to object or abstain? I can see no hands up. So this council therefore agrees the motion at item 12 by affirmation. Thank you very much. Item 13 is appointments to outside bodies, and we now refer to our supplementary pack. Members, we're invited to approve appointments and any amendments needed to outside body appointments. So, firstly, we have, I believe we have table 1. Somebody's going to have to remind me where table 1 is. Is this the one in the...
So we're on page 13. Yeah.
Of the supplement.
Supplement. Yeah, page 13. This is outside bodies.
Okay. We seem to have skipped past all the others. Oh, okay, righto. Righto. Thank you very much, Rory. So we're on agenda item 13, which is page 13 of the supplementary pack. So this is the list of outside bodies to which the council is recommended to appoint nominees listed against the nominees we've listed against them. Okay.
So there's going to be one change proposed.
Oh, okay, right. I believe there is one amendment.
I'm sorry, there's an error on the Cambridgeshire Police and Crime panel, which is halfway down that front page. It shouldn't say Claire Daunton, it should say Councillor Sally Ann Hart.
Thank you. So, for the Cambridgeshire Police and Crime panel, the nomination is not Claire Daunton, it's Councillor Sally Ann Hart. Thank you. Can I draw your attention, members, to table 2, which is a shorter list of outside bodies, which for various reasons this council is not making a recommendation. And to explain that, for example, I think that was suggested, one of them I know was suggested in error when this, for example, the Conservatives of the River Cam, we do not make a nomination to Conservatives of the River Cam. So that's table 2. And in relation to these appointments on tables 1 and 2, to be made by the council, I propose that they be approved. Is there a seconder?
I'd like to second that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Peter Fane. So that's... Are you happy to take that by affirmation, members? Agreed. Thank you. Anybody wishing to object or abstain? Lovely. Okay, so that's carried for tables 1 and 2.
And then those are the appointments of the leader, so those are just for noting.
Okay, thank you. And the nominations on table 3 are simply for us to note because these are in the gift of the leader. So it's just to advise you of those appointments. Thank you. Councillor Bhattacharya?
I have a question that I can see the
Councillor
table.
Bhattacharya, please could you bring your microphone closer to you? We'd really like to hear what you're saying.
I can see the committees are made based on different villages and other places. And
Sorry,
why-
Councillor Bhattacharya, please speak more slowly. I can't hear what you're saying.
Is there any committee that actually caters and serves for Camborne? I do not see any committee that is actually working for Camborne. We also have a couple of issues that we'd like to,
So,
because I can see a lot of other villages and a lot of other places and wards are actually taken care in this list.
the question you're asking is there a body that's representing
Yeah.
Camborne? And I'm going to hand that question to the Chief Executive.
Thank you, Chair. So this is the list of outside bodies. Obviously, we're doing a lot of work on Camborne within the council, and a number of my colleagues are working in planning in other parts of the council. But there's no outside body, external body, kind of that has responsibility for Camborne. I guess you might say the town council, plays that role. But the work that we're doing on Camborne is undertaken within the council.
Thank you, Liz.
Yep, sounds pretty rad.
So, Councillor Bridget Smith, Leader, would you like to inform the council of the appointments that you're making under joint committees and outside bodies?
I think they're as in the papers. I don't think you need me to read them out, unless anybody wants me to.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you, Leader, and we note those appointments. Okay, so we're now on to item 14, which is designation of the Scrutiny and Overview Committee as the Crime and Disorder Committee. Members, this is item 14 on our agenda, but it's referred to on page 3 at the beginning of our agenda. So, members, we're asked to designate the Council's Scrutiny and Overview Committee as its Crime and Disorder Committee in accordance with sections 19 and 20 of the Police and Justice Act. So I propose the recommendation. Can I take a seconder, please?
Can I second that, Chair?
Thank you, Councillor Peter Fane. Would anybody like to ask any questions on that? It is a statutory sort of requirement, so... Yep. So, members, are you content to take this decision by affirmation? Does anybody wish to object or abstain? Thank you. So, members, in that case, this council therefore agrees the motion by affirmation. Thank you. We move on to item 15, which is referred to also on page 3 of our agenda pages, which is the scheme of delegation. And members, we are invited to agree... No, just wait a moment. Members, we're invited to agree the scheme of delegation of council functions as set out in Table 3, Part 3 of the Constitution. Table 3 sets out the committees which the council has established with the respective composition of members as set out, with responsibility to carry out the functions as set out. In respect of the Climate Change and Environment Advisory Committee, as agreed at the earlier item on political balance, the scheme is to be adopted with the change to the number of seats on this committee from 7 to 10. We'll take a separate vote on the planning scheme of delegation at part 3, table 5, separately. Okay. I propose the recommendation. May I take a seconder?
Second that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Fane. So does anybody wish to speak? No. Members, are you content to take this decision by affirmation? Thank you. And does anybody wish to vote against or to abstain? No. So Council therefore agrees the motion by affirmation. Now we'll take a separate vote on the planning scheme of delegation at part 3, table 5. So I propose the recommendation.
I'd be happy to second that, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fane. So would anybody like to speak? Thank you. Councillor Heather Williams.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for agreeing to take the items separately. I think it's important we agree where we can. I won't rerun the debates of the past, but obviously for us this is a line which we cannot agree with, so we'll be voting against the planning delegation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So, members, we need to go to a vote. Sorry, does anybody else wish to speak? No? So, can we go to the vote on this proposal then? So this is relating to the scheme of delegation for planning. So you can see that the scheme of delegation is on the screen. If you wish to vote for the scheme of delegation for planning, press your blue person and then press either green to agree, red to object, or yellow to abstain. Right, we can see the results. Has everybody voted? Looks as though everybody's voted. The numbers add up. So that vote is carried. You can see we have 31 in favour, 7 objecting. Thank you. And there are 38 of us in the room. Thank you very much. So that motion is carried by vote. Item 16, members. Scrutiny and Overview Committee Annual Report. This is on pages 35 to 42 of our agenda. Members, we're invited to receive the report, the annual report from Scrutiny and Overview Committee for 2021-22. I call on Councillor Judith Rippeth, the Chair of the Scrutiny and Overview Committee, the Vice Chair of Scrutiny and Overview Committee last year, to present the report. I apologise for this. Councillor Judith Rippeth.
Thank you, Chair. For the Scrutiny and Overview Committee, the civic year started with the departure of Victoria Wallace from her post of scrutiny. So it's really echoey. Is it working? Okay. With the departure of Victoria Wallace from her post as Scrutiny and Governance Advisor, and ended with the retirement from local government of its chair, Councillor Grenville Chamberlain. The intervening months saw the appointment of Ian Senior as Victoria's successor, and along with other council bodies, a gradual return to in-person meetings. I would particularly like to thank Councillor Grenville Chamberlain for his dedication, diligence and support as chair of the committee, and to me as vice chair. I would also like to thank officers involved with the Scrutiny and Overview Committee for their hard work and support over the past year. In terms of workload, the committee again played an important role in making sure that lives of South Cambridgeshire residents were enhanced by the quality of decision making. In September, for example, committee members considered an early stage of the draft Greater Cambridge Local Plan and made several comments and recommendations that were adopted by Cabinet. Work will continue on this topic in the years to come, culminating in the first local plan covering both South Cambridgeshire and the City of Cambridge. The Scrutiny and Overview Committee will now move forward with both a new chair and vice chair as I take up my new responsibilities in the Cabinet. I'd just like to wish everybody well on that committee and its members, and all the best for 2022 to 2023.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rippeth. Would anybody like to raise any questions? No? So I'd like to invite the Council to receive the report. Do we receive the report? Thank you very much. So moving on to item 17, which is the Civic Affairs Committee report, which is on pages 43 to 46 of our agenda. Members were invited to receive the Civic Affairs Committee annual report for 2021-22, and I'd just like to alert you to the fact that unfortunately it was missed off the report, but the report author was Patrick Adams. This is my report to present as Chair of Civic Affairs, and I'd like to point out that we met 3 times during the year. We look at matters of constitutional issues and we clarify how we want to take those forward as a district council and in our constitution. I would like to invite the council to receive the report. Are we agreed? Thank you very much. So council receives the report. I'd also like to note that the report item 18 is the Leader of the Opposition's annual statement. So I invite the Leader of the Opposition, Councillor Heather Williams, to make her annual statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I would like to say congratulations to all councillors elected this May. And I would especially like to welcome those elected here for the first time. Wish them all the best as they start their life as a district councillor and offer a spot of advice. The work is hard, challenging and never-ending, but if done well, can be the most humbling and rewarding experience you will ever have. So treasure every moment. The good will give you joy and the bad will simply make you stronger. But most importantly, remember to put your phone on silent or it will cost you £10 for the Chair's charity. Something Councillor Howe found out when his daughter ranked him in audit and corporate governance. Over the last 12 months, this council has seen the administration and the opposition agree on matters relating to climate change and supporting those caught in the Ukrainian conflict. There have been inevitably disagreements, Chair, as to how taxpayers' money is spent and on the introduction of congestion charging. We have mourned together at the loss of MPs James Brokenshire and Sir David Amos. During the campaign, we were sorry to hear the passing of former District Councillor Roger Hall, and I'm sure all who knew Councillor Hall across the chamber will reflect fondly on the time they shared with him here, and our thoughts remain with his wife Jo and his family. Looking forward to the year ahead, we as an opposition will fulfil our duties to the full, holding the administration to account for the decisions they make, and will push for the administration to show leadership if it is lacking during decision making. The role of councillors, after all, is not to sit on fences, but to make decisions, no matter how challenging or tough they may be. I mention this, Chair, for there will be many difficult, challenging and tough decisions to be made over the coming months and years. A new local plan, CSET and C2C, to name just a few. This council will need to weigh up the pros and cons and make the right decisions for all of the district, a heavy weight on all of our shoulders, but one that we have been elected to fulfil, so fence sitting will not be an option for anyone. We are here, Chair, to serve our residents. Each and every one of us has a duty to turn up, be counted and be our residents' voice at this council. We, the Conservative group, will be here, holding the administration to account, making our residents' voices heard, looking for opportunities to agree when we can, but not afraid to speak out when we do not. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Williams. So, item 19 on our agenda, which is pages 47 to 55. Members, I call upon the Monitoring Officer, Rory McKenna, to present the report. Thank you, Rory.
Thank you, Chair. So, members, you will see in the report an appendix with proposed constitutional changes which I have set out. By way of background, the Council adopted a new constitution in May 2020, and there were minor amendments made to that there at the annual meeting last year. Now, just taking you through those changes very, very briefly. The first one, you will note, there's a proposal for standing to speak to be deleted from the Constitution. Those members who were here the last term will recall that motion was passed at every meeting. What I would say is that it's not, should you wish to still stand, that it's within your gift to do so. It's just merely stating that you don't have to. The second change is in relation to the rescheduling of meetings. Currently, the Chief Executive has the authority to cancel a meeting, but not to reschedule. And again, this is seen as a better practice than cancelling or abandoning or postponing once it's been validly convened. And the proper course would seem to be to hold it as near as possible in accordance with the notice and the summons. The third matter here is in relation to the deletion of remote meetings. Obviously, that legislation no longer exists, and so that section is to be deleted from the Constitution. The fourth one is a reminder, as much as anything else, that the new LGA Model Code of Conduct has taken effect and will be inserted into the Constitution, and that was agreed at full council last September. The fifth reference is correcting the links for JDCC, and the sixth amendment is for the glossary to be reinserted into the Constitution. It was omitted on the 30th of October last year when we were updating. There was a formatting issue, so it's just reinserting what was already previously agreed. Chair, that is the end of my report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. McKenna? I can see no questions. So I would like to propose the recommendations. And could I take a seconder, please?
Yes, Chair, I would second.
Thank you, Councillor Peter MacDonald. Does anybody wish to speak on the Constitution? Okay, so let's put that to the vote then. Are you content to take this decision by affirmation? Okay, and does anybody wish to vote against? Does anybody wish to abstain? In that case, this council therefore agrees that motion by affirmation. Thank you. So we move on to item 20, which is the Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Combined Authority. Page 57 in our agenda, with reports from the representatives from this council and constituent councils to the Combined Authority. Members were invited to note the report. Does anybody have any questions to ask? I note that Councillor Dr. Bhattacharya is leaving. Oh, maybe not. She said she was going out. Yeah, she did so, yeah. Yes, okay. Thank you. So, does anybody have any questions on the Combined Authority report? It doesn't look as though anybody does. Okay, so members, we're invited to note the report. Do we agree? Note the report? Agree. Lovely, thank you. 21 then. We come to the report on page 75 of our agenda, which is writing off of outstanding debt for financial year 2021-22, which is on page 57 to 73 of our agenda. And I invite the lead member for Finance, Councillor John Williams, to present the report. Sorry, I may have misnamed you. But Councillor John Williams, do carry on.
Thank you, Chair. As you see, this agenda item is to ask you to note the writing off of outstanding debts during the previous financial year. I'd like to draw your attention to paragraph 14 of the report. It's always sad to see a South Cambs business go into liquidation, and unfortunately on this occasion this particular business went into liquidation owing us nearly £1,100,000. It's a shame because last year, following the previous year, it was a remarkable year for the collection of council tax and non-domestic rates. Once again, this billing authority was in the top of billing authorities in the country for its collection of council tax and non-domestic rates, or business rates as they're more generally known. And I'd like to thank the finance team for achieving that in very difficult circumstances given the COVID pandemic.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor Heather Williams.
Thank you, Chair. Through yourself, if I could just clarify the figure that was quoting, and it was a bit difficult to hear. Did you say 1,100,000? Yes, you did. Because thank you, because that created some alarm over here.
So I meant 111,000. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. So in the absence of any further requests for clarification, members, can I invite the council to note the report? Agreed? Thank you. Item 22 is Chair's engagements, which is quite amusing. I did attend with great pleasure the award of the blue plaque on the 21st of March, but unfortunately I did not attend the two items below that, 16th of May, City of Ely Annual Council, or on the 24th of May, the USAF Civic Leaders Information Day. So I wouldn't want you to think I'd attended those when I didn't. However, moving on, we come to dates of council meetings for 2022-23, which is item 23 on our agenda. And you can see the dates of the meetings. We're asked to note the dates of the council meetings for the year. All members have also been informed earlier in this meeting of a proposed change to two committee dates, that of the Planning Committee on the 15th of June and of Civic Affairs Committee on the 16th of June. The proposal is to move the Planning Committee meeting to the 16th of June and the Civic Affairs Committee meeting to the 15th of June. And I propose this change of dates for these two meetings. Can I take a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Fane. Does anybody wish to speak? I can't see any wishes to speak. So are you content to take that decision by affirmation, members? Thank you. Does anybody wish to object or to abstain? No, that's great. So the council therefore agrees that motion by affirmation. And I think in record time, we have finished at 3:04. So thank you very much indeed, members, and long may it continue. Thank you very much indeed. It's good to see you all. Could you take us? I think it's the prospect of those cakes.